Welcome to another episode of Reset Monday. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to reset your thyroid for hair loss. One of the most common questions I get from my patients is, why am I losing my hair? And in today's video, we're going to learn what are the causes, what are some of the common triggers that can cause you to start losing your hair? What are some of the good blood tests that we can be looking at in order to really dive deep and determine, is it your thyroid or is it something else? And then we're going to talk about maybe what are those other causes. But at the very end, I'm going to wrap it up with what can you do about it? That's really what we want to know is how can we manage this very stressful situation when we're losing our hair? I had a patient ask me the other day, she said, "What do you have for hair loss?" And I asked her, "What does that mean?" She said, "Well, I'm losing my hair. What supplement can you recommend?" And I said, it's really not that simple. There isn't a pill for every symptom. When we are talking in functional medicine, how do we get to the root cause and really optimize your health? It's not about giving you a pill for everything. That's a very medical minded model, meaning you have a symptom, you take a pill. In functional medicine, we're really talking about how do we get to the root cause? What do we need to be looking at that is deep under the surface that maybe your medical doctor is missing, and that could be why you're losing your hair. But hair loss is also a sign. It's a sign to pay attention that something bigger is going on. Some of the most common things that happen with hair loss is you can get it thinning all over, like not just in a patch, but just a global, that's when you look at your brush and there's just a whole bunch of hair from all over your head in there. Your hair can be dry and brittle and break very easily. You may lose your eyebrows. Women, it's very common that you lose the ends of your eyebrows over here. And then, of course, your hair is still growing, but it kind of looks really dull and lacks shine. And these are really, really common things that men experience as well, but mostly women as we start to move into menopause. So, what's actually happening under the surface? Let's talk about your blood work and what blood work should be looking for. When we look at hair loss, this means that there's certain markers of your thyroid hormone that are not functioning properly. They're just not optimized the way they should be. So when we look at testing for thyroid, oftentimes in the traditional medical model, they will test only your thyroid stimulating hormone, your TSH. That might sound familiar to you. If you've ever had your TSH tested, then that is part of a thyroid test, but it is only a small part of the thyroid test. And what typically happens is if your TSH shows up normal, then they won't test anything further. But your TSH has to be so far out of bounds, meaning you have to be really, really clinically sick. And oftentimes when the thyroid isn't functioning properly, people know that they just know they don't feel well. And so it's really important to look at a full thyroid panel. And that would include more than TSH, but we're talking about T3, T4, free T3, free T4. And we can start to look at some of these other thyroid compounds because we can track them as part of the whole cascade of how the thyroid functions. Now, the thyroid hormone is released from the anterior pituitary right here deep in your brain. And that comes down, that's your TSH. Now, that could be coming out normal from the anterior pituitary, but when it gets to the thyroid gland, if it doesn't convert properly, that's a whole different problem. This is T3, T4 down here. So if you're only testing TSH and it shows normal here, but it's not making the conversions here into the most usable forms of thyroid hormone, you're going to feel exhausted. You're not going to sleep very well. You're going to be gaining weight. You're going to be losing your hair. So we have to make sure we're testing for the full cascade. And sometimes what will happen is we can even test for the thyroid antibodies, autoantibodies, and that can be an indication for us if there's an autoimmune issue. And if it's an autoimmune issue, that means it's been there a very, very long time. And it just got that much more serious in order to be caught on a blood test. So oftentimes this is where people say, my thyroid is normal. I've had it checked. It's normal, but you haven't had it fully checked. You haven't had a full cascade of thyroid hormones, the whole piece and part of it in order to determine what's normal and what's not in that cascade. because you can have normal parts of it and then other parts will show up. So let's just talk about some of the nutrient deficiencies. If we do a full cascade, we can see what are some other nutrient deficiencies. And this would go also with full lab work that we could look at as well. But some of the top nutrient deficiencies here are we have low iron or ferritin that could show up on your test. Ferritin and iron help your scalp actually oxygenate. So it's actually helping keep your hair in the growth phase. So if you have low iron, you're getting no growth and you're getting hair loss. And then we have zinc and selenium. And zinc and selenium are critical for the conversions in the different parts of the cascade. So if you don't have enough zinc and selenium, your thyroid hormones are not going to be able to convert in the proper places that they need to give you the energy and the function that your body needs. We have vitamin D, and vitamin D, everybody's deficient in vitamin D. You live in a cold climate, chances are you're low in vitamin D because you're probably not getting enough exposure during the summer months either, because you're dressing, you're covering from the sun, you're blocking yourself with sunscreen, and that you're probably deficient all year round. I've done other videos on low vitamin D levels on this channel. You are welcome to go find them. But vitamin D actually helps to regulate your immune system and it supports the hair follicle. So we really need that vitamin D. And then we have B vitamins, and especially biotin and B12, and then folate. So we need our folate in here as well, and that helps with our cellular energy and as well as the growth. And then omega-3s actually help to reduce inflammation, and they help keep the scalp healthy. They help keep your skin healthy. Now, a lot of these, if you're going to supplement with iron or ferritin or zinc and selenium, vitamin D, and these B vitamins and the omega-3s, there's very specific forms that you need in order to make sure you're getting the proper form in order for it to be doing something that's going to move the needle in the forward direction. And I'll make sure I drop those links below to the proper forms you need to be taking. Next, let's talk about the hidden causes of thyroid hair loss. And if we're looking at thyroid hair loss, then we always have to look at nutrient deficiency, and nutrient deficiency can happen under chronic stress. When you're under chronic stress, that causes more cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And cortisol actually blocks some of the cofactors for the conversion for your thyroid. So when you're getting a blocking of, say, T3, then you're going to shed. You're not going to grow, and you're going to shed your hair. So chronic stress, we talk about stress management all the time. And so you need to start thinking of things like deep breathing, yoga. How do you respond to the stress rather than taking it all in? Because stress actually also changes your gut health, which is part of this as well. What gut imbalances might you have? If you have an altered gut, then you are absolutely nutritionally deficient. You're not going to be absorbing the nutrients that you need in order for this whole process to take place. So chronic stress does affect gut health, and it can actually lead to blood sugar imbalances, which this is part of it as well. You're also then going to get hormonal imbalances. When the blood sugar gets thrown off, we can move more into a metabolic syndrome type situation where this is also, then we start to get more weight gain. And you can see how the cycle just starts to perpetuate itself. And then the last thing on hidden causes is toxins, our environmental toxins, as well as heavy metals. So heavy metals can actually be a very hidden part of this, and they can prevent, they can interfere with thyroid function, interfere with every cellular function in your body, and of course, cause the hair loss as well. So what do we do? How do we start supporting your thyroid and good hair growth, as well as eliminating hair loss? One of the things that I would always recommend is get a full thyroid panel. And so you can reach out to me, but if you have a functional medicine doctor that you work with, then you want to just make sure that you're getting an update on a full thyroid panel, at least yearly, if not twice a year, depending on what you have going on. Then you want to be supporting your gut health. And in order to support your gut health, you have to look at what is your diet? What kinds of things are you eating? Are you eating a lot of processed foods? You've got to move your diet more towards higher levels of high quality protein, making sure you're getting enough fiber, and of course, making sure you're having things that are going to support gut health, like good fermented foods and kefir and yogurt, things like that. maybe, look more into like a Mediterranean diet, something that is going to be a little bit more heart healthy, that is going to be more supportive of the gut. The more sugar and the more toxins and the more processed foods you put into your gut, the more it is going to be completely altered, and you're not going to be able to get your arms around this. So it does have to change with your diet. And then we want to absolutely manage stress. I mentioned that in the previous segment, is that getting your arms around, what is it? How are you going to respond to the stressors? Maybe it's just taking a walk for you, but you have got to find some things that are going to work for you, they're going to help to, whenever some of these things come your way, you're not taking them on. I have a patient who the weight of the world is on her shoulders. And I just talked to her about this the other day. And I said, there's nothing you can do about all the things you come in here and you start to complain about. There's nothing you can do. You can have empathy for a situation. You can certainly have concern for it, but it doesn't mean you need to own it. You have to stop owning other people's garbage, because it is, in fact, killing you. So make sure you're setting those boundaries around you, your emotional status, so that you're not feeling the stress and the weight of the world. And then, of course, we want to check for nutrient deficiencies. And when we check for nutrient deficiencies, we'll do other testing as well. And I'm talking more in the functional medicine world, because we have to do these very strategic tests that will start to uncover things that don't get uncovered in a traditional medical model. And this is why so many of you are walking around saying, I feel terrible, but all my tests are showing up normal. My doctor says I'm fine. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I speaking to you? Because this is so common. So definitely looking at getting the right types of testing done in order to start to peel back those layers and get as far upstream to the root cause as we can. So what are our next steps? Don't ignore it. Losing your hair, it's a sign. And it may just be something as annoying as losing your hair, but that's really bothersome to a lot of people. But it's a sign that there's something deeper metabolically happening that you need to pay attention to, because it will affect something else further down the road. And that's what we're trying to prevent, is what can we do now? How can we find things now so that we make sure that you avoid those clinical realms that your symptoms would only show up in a medical model when you are so sick. But just because if you don't feel well and your labs are normal, that does not mean you're healthy. And so this is where functional medicine is really beautiful, and being able to help people get to that root cause. So your next steps would be, let's get a full thyroid panel. Let's look at full nutrients, run a hormone panel, figure out where your root cause is. And then when we look at that, then we come up with a customized plan, and it may involve some food, some lifestyle. It might involve supplementation, but it's going to be very specific to you. And a good functional medicine doctor is going to really be able to sit with you, listen to what you have going on, help you understand what do we need to do to get to the goals that you're trying to get to, and just improve your life, optimize things for your own longevity. And then I would just ask, make sure that if you know somebody who's struggling with this, please share this video with them, and make sure you leave a nice comment, and don't forget to subscribe, because it's these types of videos that actually helps to change people's lives and bring them more to an optimized state so they can start living more fully and beautifully in every aspect of their life. Okay, I hope you like this video with regards to hair loss. So make sure you leave me a comment. Are you losing hair? Have you done anything about it? And what answers have you gotten so far? Or have you? And do we need to work together? All right, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening and watching, supporting the channel, and I will see you on the next one.